Welcome, everybody, to the last Pitch Breakfast of the year. We are happy that everybody here is joining. People are still coming in here into the room, but we want to go ahead and get started and keep this show on time. So I know we're all excited for this year to be behind us. And certainly here at Pitch Breakfast, we're happy to be another month closer to eventually bringing back live events. We don't know exactly when that's going to be, but we know that every month that goes by is another month closer. So thank you all for joining us now for what I think is, Laura, the sixth virtual Pitch Breakfast event? This might be the sixth or the seventh. It's
I'm going to say seventh.
Yeah. It's been a lot, but we appreciate everybody who has been joining us, sticking with us, and just know that we are working to make this going forward as engaging, as valuable as possible by finding great panelists, great companies, and even looking at different ways that we can improve the run of show and the program to make it a better experience for everybody. So thanks again. We've got a few reminders here on the screen. If you are, please keep your camera off and yourself on mute until we get to the last portion of the event when we get to do some networking. The reason for this is to allow the attention to be on the companies that are presenting, the panelists, and also so you can see Laura, who is the timekeeper for the event. So we want to make sure that they're able to see that while they're pitching. So thank you all for keeping yourselves muted and your cameras off. If you've got any questions for the presenters or the panelists, please enter that into the chat box. That way, if there's time, we're able to get to those questions. Or if we don't have time to get to the questions during the pitch itself, each founder is able to answer those questions after their pitch. Lastly, this event is being live streamed on both Facebook and YouTube. If for whatever reason you're unable to make a future event, you can join the Facebook or YouTube by visiting the Pitch Breakfast page. You can go to our website at www.pitchbreakfast, and then at the bottom you can get links to all our social media, or just go to facebook.com/pitchbreakfast to view it. To everybody who is joining us from Facebook and YouTube, welcome to the event. So Pitch Breakfast, for anybody who doesn't know, is an event where entrepreneurs pitch and panelists enrich. This is an event that was started almost 8 years ago by Vic Howie, who I think is joining us here today.
He is on somewhere here. Yes.
He is on. So Vic, shout out to you for this event that's been going on for a while and has really become there's Vic, the premier pitch event and one of the premier networking events in Charlotte for people who want to get involved in the high growth entrepreneurial community. We've had some amazing startups come on and go on to do some really great things, raise money, get acquired, and even appear on some TV shows in a couple times. So we love having these companies, and we invite any entrepreneur, any startup company that has not yet pitched up Pitch Breakfast to go ahead and apply at www.pitchbreakfast.com and just click on the Apply to Pitch button if you're interested in participating in a future event. We want to give a big shout out to the companies that make Pitch Breakfast possible. So you see them right here on the screen. We have Spengler & Agins, who are attorneys for Charlotte's startup community. And the team at Spengler & Agins work with entrepreneurs and local businesses on everything from formation to early stage funding. Really, if you've got questions about getting your company off the ground, the Spengler & Agins team are great people to talk to. We also have NK Patent Law, which is an intellectual property and patent law boutique law firm. And they help companies with everything from patents, trademarks, IP. If it's around intellectual property, you name it, that's all they do. That's what they specialize in. We also have Dual Boot Partners, who have been fantastic partners. I think we've got a couple of the team's members. I see Barrett right there on the call. If you've got any questions about technology, whether it's building your MVP or replatforming your system, anything like that, they have worked with a ton of Charlotte startup and tech companies, small and large, and help them do things more efficiently, more effectively, and a lot less expensive than some other options. And they do that in an extremely supportive way. Fantastic team. Definitely talk to them when we get to the networking portion. And last but not least, our accountants at Powderly Butchnick. They have been great people for small businesses, startups, and large businesses alike when it comes to bookkeeping, taxes, finance questions of all sorts. They are Pitch Breakfast's accountants, and we absolutely love them, especially around April 15th every year. So, check out Powderly Vuchnik if that's something that that you're looking for as well. So you can't have a couple attorneys on your partner list without having a legal disclaimer. And our legal disclaimer is that the Pitch Breakfast event is educational in nature. So when you're hearing them pitching, they're practicing, not conducting a securities offering. None of the companies pitching intend for this to be a general solicitation. If you hear a company pitch and says that they need $500,000, they're not actively pitching everyone in the audience. They're simply practicing their pitch. If you are an investor and you have an interest in a company, you're free to take that conversation offline. So with that, I think we're about ready to get started. Laura, do we have everybody logged in who needs to be logged in? All right, we got the thumbs up from Laura. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So first, today's format is our standard format. 5 minutes. Each company has 5 minutes to pitch with slides. They're able to present as if they were presenting at a pitch competition or at an angel fund meeting, something like that. Then we have 10 minutes of feedback and Q&A by our panelists. And those panelists, who we're going to be introducing here in a second, we have Dr. Shantae Williams coming back to our panel, I guess, for the second time. Dr. Shantae, thank you so much for joining us and welcome back. You can go ahead and turn your camera on. Dr. Shantae is a healthcare venture capitalist, impact investor, keynote speaker, author. The list keeps going. I think we ran out of room here on the PowerPoint slide. Thank you so much for joining us again.
Thanks. I'm caffeinated and ready to rock.
That's what we like to hear.
And then we have Garth Moulton. Garth has been with us since the very beginning. He is the co-founder of Jigsaw, SVP business development at People, and I think, like we like to say, sales personality on our Pitch Breakfast panel. So Garth, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so with that, we're going to go ahead and get started with the pitches, starting with the first company here. We have Token setting up. So if Token can go ahead and unmute yourself, turn on your camera, and I'm going to stop sharing here in just a second. All right, Evan, you can go ahead and share your slides.
And Evan, I always like to make sure that you do have my screen up. You can see me. So when you see my signals.
I can see you.
Perfect.
Awesome. With that, Evan, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and get started.
Okay. Well, hi, I am the founder and CEO of Token. My name's Evan. We help you and your friends play board games. Do you remember Monopoly? I used to play with my mom when I was younger. She would let me win, and though she thought she did me a favor, it always felt a little empty because I'm competitive and I want to earn it. Even so, I love those times playing with my mom. We all have those core memories of rolling dice or playing a hand of cards. Board games are a universal experience, and I'm here to tell you that experience is now a $15 billion niche market, billion with a B, and that market is growing 17% annually. Our mission is to connect the world through play around the table. This is who we are at Token. We make finding and creating that experience of playing a board game around the table easy. Today, if you want to listen to music, you go to Spotify. If you want to watch a movie, you go to Netflix. Imagine a world full of people who go to Token to find friends and play a board game at a coffee shop. Did you know that 9% of people play a board game once a week and 26% of people play at least once a month? 50% of people, 1 out of 2 people, play a board game at least once a year. These people who play regularly also spend $500 or more on purchasing board games. Our original assumption was that because these people are spending a lot of money on games, we could innovate on that buying process. So we spent a year building a company to sell games in a disruptive way. During that time, we surveyed 1,000 people who play board games regularly today just to make sure we were solving the right problem. And it turns out we weren't. 84% of people in that 1,000-person survey said the #1 issue they face is they can't find others to play board games as often as they want. And it makes sense, right? Take a look at this picture again. The primary thing that sets board games apart from any other type of entertainment is you need other people to play. In today's fast-paced world, it's hard to connect with others to take a few hours out of our day and spend time together. So we pivoted the company to Token to solve this problem and create a solution. And the solution is Token, an online to offline app that makes it easy to connect and play. On Token, you can see everyone in your area who plays board games and find all the games happening in your area to join. So far, in 2019, we placed second place in the Velocity Accelerator, Startup Accelerator. We launched our MVP in February of this past year, February 1st. During our launch, we saw a 5% week over week growth. This past fall, as in 2020, we placed first place in the New Ventures Startup Accelerator, and we've partnered with the UK Games Expo, which is the third largest board game convention in the world. They have 30,000 attendees and global recognition and exposure. And finally, we've taken all the feedback we received from our users during our MVP launch and have implemented it into a version 2. Our plan over the next 3 years is to grow aggressively by launching in major cities across the US and Europe. At the end of year 1, we'll have achieved 80,000 users, which is when we'll turn on our revenue model. One of our key strategies to achieve this growth is actually piggybacking off who we consider to be our primary competitor. Meetup.com is an online platform where you can create groups based on mutual interests, such as hiking, or in our case, playing board games, and set up predefined times to meet up. The board game groups on Meetup ranges sizes from 500 to 5,000 to as large as 20,000 in cities such as London. Or in Charlotte, there's a board game group that has about 4,000 people. What we found during our initial launch is we can reach out to these publicly discoverable groups and tell them, hey, we have a better solution and it's free. Are you interested in converting your hundreds or thousands of users to us? And so far, we've only been given a resounding yes and have had a 100% conversion rate. While we solve this problem for our users, we see what games they're playing. That allows us to offer targeted advertising to publishers. Our main focus is to offer the best possible experience possible to our users for free, and in turn be a 10x better solution than any single advertising solution on the board game market today. Using this revenue model and taking data of what publishers are paying for advertising today on other platforms, we project to be at a $25 million run rate by 2024. This is our team. Myself, who I introduced, I'm a 6-year industry expert in the board game industry. We have Houston Goodwin, who is currently a president at a SaaS company, and Timmy Saracen, who's a CEO of the same SaaS company. And we have Jake Horvat, who's the Amazon manager for Hanes Brands and has his MBA from Wake Forest. And I'll go through these last couple slides quickly. This is just a list of communities that we've been a part of during our time as a company. We're currently in Winston Startup Incubator in Winston. That's the one I'll call out. And then here are mentors and investors. These are people, we certainly have more people than this who we connect with, but these are people who we meet with on a weekly or monthly basis. Thank you. Again, my name's Evan. Here's my contact and email, and I look forward to meeting you at the table.
All right, thanks, Evan. We're going to do a virtual Zoom applause there for you. Garth or Dr. Shante, whoever wants to kick it off.
Are you okay if I go first, Dr. Shante? Awesome. Great job, Evan. I love presentations where I learn a little bit. I had no idea the popularity of board games. I do think that's very interesting. Also, I love that you started off on your idea and you listened to your users and the data, and you noticed the real problem, and made the switch. It's a huge deal. It sounds like such a simple thing, but I mean, I actually started a company here in Charlotte that we ignored the signals and we did not make the change, and we never really discovered what the true problem was as a result. So I applaud you for that. I have to ask the question. I'm like, you are aware that there's a massive pandemic going on and that is discouraging, at the very least, people getting together in person. So I don't think that means that you don't have a business. Obviously, things will change at some point, but the fact that you didn't address it, you have to address it. And then I have another very structural criticism of your business model. I mean, your numbers for users, are, in the tens of thousands over the next couple of years. That does not equate with an advertising model, I don't know what you're going to be charging for your ads, but, those numbers don't equate to $25 million run rate in 4 years. So those are my two big comments, criticism.
Thanks for your feedback. Am I supposed to talk, address any of these things, or is this just pure feedback portion?
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Shante is going to go.
Okay.
I'll be brief. I'll say a couple of things. I will be honest and say I probably haven't played a board game in a long time. So maybe I just don't have any friends. And so this may be something I should try. I'm kind of curious about your age distribution as far as the games go. Is it skewed towards older people?
It's not. Our primary age demographic is between the ages of 25 and 35. Yeah. And
then my other question is really focused on, I see you have advertising, and the advertising, I guess, is going to be targeted towards, maybe selling more games or something like that. How many new games get introduced, and are people typically looking to play newer games, or are they, having that nostalgic feel for older games?
Yeah. So as one example to answer that question, I'm assuming everyone's familiar with Kickstarter. So board games are the single largest category on Kickstarter and makes up 1/3 of Kickstarter's total revenue. And that's data you can just look up. It's board games also have the highest fund rate out of any category on Kickstarter. So yes, there are lots of new games coming out all the time, with Kickstarter, being the bleeding edge of that. But also I think there's last year 4,000 games came out not on Kickstarter, just through traditional publishing means. So yeah, there's lots of new content coming out, which is part of our solution that I didn't really talk about because I only have 5 minutes, but we are that's one of our value propositions. We take all that content and aggregate it and give it to you in bite-sized chunks, so we can tell you, hey, out of all these 4,000 games, here's 3 we think you'll like.
Gotcha. Okay. I didn't know that. And I'll just say, just maybe as a parting point, I would be curious as to how you grow your users, so people who aren't board game fanatics, in order to kind of achieve some of those numbers. I don't have a huge background in this particular area, but it sounds like you think that your demographic will continue to grow over time. Are your users just aging up, or are you really expanding your pie as a part of your growth model?
Yeah, so that's one of the exciting things. So one, just people in the board game industry today. So for instance, on meetup.com, there's over 2 million people in the US who would go to pre-COVID obviously, but go to board game meetups. And they're, again, so for instance, in Charlotte, there's a group called Potions and Pixels, and they have a group that's about 4,000, and they meet up, again, pre-COVID. Anyway, so there already is a good group of users, but one of the things we found, which was really exciting, is we had a big launch party in February. We had about 300 people show up, and one of the cool things was the majority of people who came were not board game hobbyists or people who played board games, but there was a bunch of new people to the hobby. They played board games for the first time and immediately went out and bought the games that they played because they were so enamored by the experience. So that's something we're really focused on, because growing the pie is what really makes this a big business and a big idea. And that's something, at least in a small anecdotal way, we've seen we can do. So we're just trying to figure out how to scale that.
Yeah, I would agree. I think with some of Gar's sentiments on maybe diversifying your revenue stream a bit, just overall, but interesting. Thank you.
Yeah. And I'll add on the revenue portion. Again, this is, I try to keep the pitch concise, but one of the things we do is add an Amazon affiliate link to all the games in our database so that if anyone clicks on them to buy them, like we've seen our users do, we just get a 4% kickback from anything they buy on Amazon over the next 24 hours. But that wasn't in the numbers or the pitch, obviously, but that's another revenue model we have.
Gotcha. And I'm sorry, I know I said that was the last question. So are you seeking or going to seek some proprietary partnerships or some premier partnerships or maybe new games or, you know, a specific company, like a major, you know, kind of anchor strategic partnership in that way?
Yeah, so our anchors are people who are running board game events primarily, not necessarily producing board games, though, you know, we obviously want to partner with those people too. So we already have partnered with the UK Games Expo, which I had mentioned in the pitch, which is the third largest in the world. There's 3 others we have our eyes on, which are US based, that range in sizes from 20,000 to 80,000 attendees yearly. And again, I didn't talk about it too much just because, you know, this next year is just gonna be interesting to see how conventions play out, you know.
Yeah.
But the thing I'm excited about is Token can actually come and be a solution to the problem where if people aren't comfortable with getting into a big convention hall with 30,000 other people and rubbing shoulders, which I don't think they will be, what Token comes up and offers and say, hey, instead of everyone coming in one place, we give you the tools and power to disseminate across the city and meet up like at local bars in much smaller groups. So that's what we're testing out, that marketing terminology and like how exactly we position it. But that's one of the ways we're thinking about partnerships and what the convention scene and all of that looks like next year.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, I know the guys at New Venture.
Could you quickly address the COVID thing? I mean, you must have a statement or a plan or something.
Yeah, so first principles at a high level, board games are not going away. You know, we actually have older records of board games than we have of written language. They've been a part of our culture forever, and so that's just true. What the thing about COVID is board game sales have all gone way up because everyone's buying games to do stuff in their home. And people, you just can't replace in-person connection. You know, like this event is better in person than it is over Zoom, you know. So what's happening is the market is seeded with more games than it's ever had, and people are building up a social debt is what we're calling it. And so even though we can't go to market tomorrow, when we do go to market, we think we'll be able to make a big bang.
Great answer. I would definitely slip that in, even in a 5-minute.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll add that.
Awesome, guys. Well, I think that's all the time that we've got for questions. Evan, there were a couple questions in the chat if you want to check them out about you know, virtual games and even about Texas Hold'em. So if you want to hop on the chat and answer those questions. If anybody else has any questions, again, if we run out of time, usually the founder can answer those either in the chat or in the networking portion afterwards. But thank you, Evan. And we're going to move on to the next company.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. So we've got the next company coming up is Hot Root Analytics. But before they do, a couple events that we want to make you aware of. So first, it's the Black Tech Charlotte's Ask Me Anything on how to break into tech. So you here at this event, you get to join the Black Tech Charlotte team along with Flatiron School for an open, candid conversation about breaking into technology or into the tech field. You get to hear from some of Flatiron School's educational and career coaches, industry experts, and learn about their experience helping others learning tech skills and job search. That event is happening tonight on Instagram. So you just have to go to Black Tech Charlotte's Instagram account, and it'll be at 6 o'clock. And then second, we have the Venture Prize Launch NC Idea program is already opening up applications for their spring 2021 cohort. There is more information at entrepreneurship.uncc.edu. But one thing I always tell people at Pitch Breakfast, one of the number one reasons why companies fail is they don't do effective customer discovery. This program is all about customer discovery, allowing companies to really learn how to go out there and interview their customers and learn about it before they go spend all that time building it. So highly recommend that you check out the Venture Prize program. Actually, Laura, if there's anything else that you want to tell us about this next cohort, please.
We just have open applications. I've been talking to people one-on-one, so feel free to reach out if you want to know more about the program and have a discussion about it. But yeah, we're opening up, and the cohort will start in January. It will be a virtual program. It'll start in January and sometime, but yeah, just reach out if you have any questions.
Awesome. All right. Well, it looks like Adonis is ready to go. His slides are up. So Adonis, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Adonis Abdullah. I am a senior Belk Scholar and Crown Scholar at UNC Charlotte and the co-founder of Hot Route Analytics. 3 years ago in high school, my co-founder and I knew two things to be true. First was that sports and data really is going to become a big thing. And second is that if this is true, that data is going to be really hard to get. Fast forward a few years after signing contracts with different teams and colleges, doing customer discovery, and then also some market research, we found out that this is absolutely true. And the real reason behind this is because of the money. Data is expensive to get. And so these large universities like Alabama, Auburn, LSU, they can afford to get this. But the small schools my co-founder and I go to, we just can't afford it. Ultimately, what this means is that teams just aren't as competitive and they perform worse in games, and coaches spend more time doing mundane chores. They're less competitive when recruiting. Fewer players can develop to maximize their potential, and ultimately just less revenue, and teams are just ultimately less competitive. One AD we worked with said that we don't have the money to be like Chapel Hill or Michigan to afford new technology, even if we wanted to. Obviously, we're not the first sports tech company out there. There have been other ones out there who are really affordable, but they only offer a single service or is really specialized and doesn't take advantage of all the ways to use data. Or they do take advantage of all the ways, but it's at such a premium that only UCLA or Stanford can afford it. And so our solution to this is our platform. This is a suite of apps and technologies that use data analytics and predictive analytics to just help teams become competitive. We do this with our Next Pitch app, Next Play app, our online coaching portal, its mobile companion. We plan on building a recruitment app and also a player development and health app. Just to highlight two real quick, our Next Pitch app, that's our flagship mobile app that's designed to be used in-game for both baseball and softball to predict the pitches that are going to be thrown in real time with up to 85% accuracy. And that was really cool because one of our teams back in the spring played the number 3 team in the nation and actually beat them in a weekend series with the app, which was cool. And then our coaching portal, it's our online dashboard that aggregates information both from within our platform, but also from outside of the platform. And just designed to be one location to give analytical insights and advice. And again, coaches who have used this just were able to save an hour or two every day, as the coaching portal was essentially able to build their game plan for them. Our market, we want to target these small D1 schools, D2, D3, and anything below that. And that's about $1.9 billion a year. And we even have a strong secondary market, we believe, in other places in sports where predictive analytics can be used, such as venue management, fan engagement, esports, ticket sales, sports betting, and just many other places where we can integrate data more. Our business model, it's a B2B business model with subscription-based B2B business model with monthly or seasonal subscriptions where different packages allow teams to access different technologies within our platform. Over the past year that we've been going at this, we have been fortunate enough to win the Venture Prize 2019 Idea Pitch. From there, we became members of the 49er Foundry. We had acquired our 7th customer before 2019 ended, completed 30 customer discovery interviews through the NSF iCorp program, became Blue Diamond Award finalists, featured in Charlotte NO's 25 under 25, and also completed the 49er Foundry Accelerator program. And looking ahead, we want to add more people to our team. We want to add data scientists, writers, graphic designers, construct an advisory board. We are still in college right now with much more to learn, as well as we want to join accelerator programs, and also we can have 50 plus contracts signed by fall 21, which we do think we're on pace for. And ultimately, that's what our ask is all about. It's how do we get there? And we are asking for 65,000 with this going to sales to help us learn more, as I said, but also get us to those 50 customers, hardware and software, just so we can continue building out our platform, acquire IP, and also, like I said, build out the team. And currently our team, it's myself and Zach Alford, the two co-founders, baseball consultant, and Kyle Carter, who is a Houston Astros affiliate, does player development, and then two advisors, and Laura and Devin from Ventureprise. And so thank you all for listening. I welcome any questions. My contact info is in the top left.
All right, thanks, Adonis. Another virtual Zoom applause here for you. And I think, Garth, it's your turn, it's Dr. Shantae's turn to get started.
I have like 11 billion questions, if that's a real number. So I guess I'll start with the basics. So what's the current spend on data analytics for sports teams? And then are they mostly using it for recruiting, or are they using it like game time video?
I'm sorry. So you said, I think you cut out for me a little bit, but it was how our team's currently using data analytics?
Or how are they currently, what are they spending on it?
Oh, how much are they spending on it? I'm not too sure. So I know there was the 1.9, and I know that gets cut down a lot from other things. If I had to take a guess from just teams we talked with, it's probably about 2,000 or so that they spend just on like technology per year, 2,000-3,000.
Okay. And so in your customer discovery process, what's the average that people or coaches or whomever that's really using the app willing to spend on something like this? Or how are you getting towards the right pricing and the right size pricing to gain those 50 customers?
Right. So far it's been the coaches that we have worked with and have used the app. When we gave them different prices, they seem to be the consensus around $100 or so is a fair price for a single app. And then for, if we expect to expand that out, then we can build that out to about 500 maybe for the whole platform, give or take. But from what they've mentioned, just other products such as the coaching portal could be a little more valuable than just the in-game baseball app and things like that. And so we've just been playing around with it.
I'm sorry, is that per month or a one-time app fee?
It would be per season.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would say the financial mechanics of that are, I'd pay $500, but I don't have a team. So you might want to kick that, think about the customer, what's valuable, where they're most likely to use, because I see all of the possibilities you've got there. And, what's your highest value offering, and, start working and developing there, because I think you might end up with a few issues, especially if you're targeting schools that already have a cash-strapped budget. There may be no budget for you to come into the market or for them to use you. So you may have some traction issues, at least early on. So proving out what's the best component or the best part of your platform. And then the other is a question, are you compiling data and analyzing it, or are you kind of using an AI approach where things are being put in and you're saying, based on your team composition versus this team, this is what you should be doing?
It's a little bit of both of those. Some of them is we're scraping the web, trying to find these different stats about different players, and then we'll do different analytical things, the AI stuff, and it's like, okay, given these stats from this team and your stats, this is how they compare, and then this is how, the outcome and things like that. That's a mix.
Gotcha. So kind of I guess the movie was Moneyball? Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah.
Kind of. And then I guess just one question, and I'm going to say this, and it's don't report me to the feds or anything, but I could definitely see gamblers or sports bettors really taking a shine to this in particular, where it's legal. Disclaimer for all the lawyers listening. But that's an interesting avenue, but I really don't know a lot about that market. I would say, I know you're talking about coaches and working with schools. Is there a different market that you could get, maybe not sports betting, but that would take some of these sports analytics? And then why not go after the big schools to prove out your model and give them better tools?
So I think if I'm hearing it right, it sounds like a two-parter. And first, just the other avenues we could go down, I would say would be like esports. I think could be a really interesting one, or if it was other people in the admin box, whether that's venue management or ticket sales, I think those could definitely benefit from that. And then, going after the larger schools, I mean, we definitely want to. We do have a D1 school already on board for a pretty big D1 school on board for this spring coming up. And we definitely would want to work with them, and we think it's cool, but we're just targeting the smaller ones right now because they're being left out by the current companies.
Gotcha. Well, based on the last pitch in the board game, people, maybe there's some AI and analytics to the board game world. I don't know. I'll let Garth speak before I ask any other questions.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a good presentation. I'm actually in the data world, so I certainly appreciate the potential and the it's all about the data. It's all about providing analytics. I have some sort of basic structural questions about what your business is. You mentioned screen scraping. Let's start with, how do you get this data, and what specifically is this data? It's data on local high school athletes, and well, I'll let you answer the question. I won't put words in your mouth.
Yeah, I think so. To just about like what the business is for a second.
With an eye towards why you're different, just
right.
You're scraping the web, okay.
Right. Yeah. So our business is really about, the focus right now is really just in game and the game management piece, and providing tools that can make teams better now, so to speak. So that's before the game, during the game, after the game. And the data we're getting now, and how we got it, a lot of it we had to get manually. It's scraping the web. It's getting, the past decade or so worth of information about different players at all division levels and things like that. And then from there, it's just trying to figure out some kind of analysis and starting to predict what's going to happen. So you're giving your team's performance last season, this is how they'll perform this season, or this is how you can change it, and things like that. And I think it's that predictive component that really does make us different. There are a lot of companies out there, sports companies, who will give them data, say, here's your players' offensive rating, defensive rating, their grading, blah, blah, blah. And that stuff is really important. We do that too. But
I guess I thought the crux was, you compile all this information about high school players, and then you give it, and then you provide it to the coaches for recruiting. I thought but you say your focus is more in-game, so taking the data from the actual teams themselves and giving it back to them with some value-added, analytics and insights.
Yeah, that's definitely more on par for what we want to do. We do want to get into recruiting one day, and I think that's like our next step. But right now, it's definitely more with the teams at the moment.
Okay, well, this brings me to my second point. You had one slide where you're talking about, you said you have your flagship mobile app, and then you named about 4 others, and super, super boil the ocean type thing. Like, you're going to have to pick a lane, and it's my advice to anyone who's starting a company in anything. You need to figure out what it is you're good at and go after that with a single-minded focus, and you're way too sort of all over the place right now. And that leads into another point that I'll make. Your ask was $65,000. Mm-hmm. you mentioned like 4 employees, getting out to the market, it says nothing about data acquisition, et cetera. It's like, I just don't think that's the right scale for what I would suggest is not necessarily like, oh, we need $65 million, but scaling your focus way down, try to own. And Dr. Shante mentioned, I would think that you would want to start with getting a few relationships with, what you view as your core customer, giving them your data, giving them your insights, giving them everything. And then what they say, they're like, oh, this is useful. That's useful. Then that's your business. And one final point, I didn't see on your list of folks that are involved, any data scientist, because you're going to have, it's not just about data, data as a thing, it's like, it's what you can do with it, what you're going to provide, the insights that you are going to provide that are going to make you different from everybody else. And it's, and it can be a very small thing, but it's like, you're the best at it. And that's how you make your company.
Gotcha. Yeah, appreciate that.
Right, we're winding down. Does anybody have any final thoughts on that?
Yeah, focus. You've got time. And data scientists, just as a market scale for salaries, are really expensive. So, your fundraising budget is really low. It's like when people tell me they're going to build an app for $8,000. Just think more broadly about really the numbers and really drilling down to what you need in order to focus.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Adonis. Another virtual Zoom applause for you. And we're getting ready to move on here to the next one. So we've got Reviewed getting set up for our third and final pitch of the day. But before we get into that, a couple quick announcements. Another event that is happening next week, next Tuesday at 4:30, is the Venture South Intro to Angel Investing event. So Venture South is going to do a crash course on the basics of angel investing, why you should invest with a group rather than sort of on your own, or what the differences are, and what investing in startup companies might look like in a post-pandemic world. Things are changing, and that includes angel investing. So you can find that event on Eventbrite, or we'll put the link here in the chat in just a second. And then the next day, next Wednesday, 1 week from today, Packer Place's Public House. Many of you who have joined the Pitch Breakfast event have been to Packer Place Public Houses, but these are events where the community sort of comes together to network, learn about what's going on in the community, and usually listen to a speaker in what they call a keg side chat at Packer Place. This is all done virtually via Zoom right now. And the next one is happening Wednesday at 5:15. You can learn more about that at meetup.com/Packer Place. These events have really been great to sort of bring the community together, learn about what's going on. And if you're new to the ecosystem or just want to get reacquainted, reconnected with people, highly recommend that you check that out. Again, that's meetup.com/Packer Place, and you can find that event tagged for next week. So with that, it looks like we've got the reviewed slides up and ready. Eric, are you good to go?
I am good to go. Appreciate it. Thank
awesome.
you.
I'm going to go ahead and hide my.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Eric Utzinger. I'm CEO and co-founder of Reviewed. Reviewed is a platform anchored in IT talent search, and we are designed to build and manage an interim workforce. Having been in healthcare IT staffing and consulting for over 10 years, I saw a big problem. Locating the right talent at the right time for the right project was costly, time-consuming, and inefficient. It was preventing project work from getting done on a timely basis, and really just the expense of doing so has really put projects behind at hospitals as we started doing business with them as the market matured. Our market in the healthcare IT space alone, which is our initial beachhead, is over $7 billion industry with over 6,000 consulting agencies and over 6,000 healthcare organizations. Fact is, though, our platform would not have succeeded years ago, but due to a mature IT market in healthcare, along with factors such as a global pandemic and a growing demand on how people want to work and the accessibility of remote work, has really propelled our value proposition. And at the end of the day, we're going to make it very easy to facilitate the management of your interim workforce. As an example, Adam is a worker who has uploaded his profile and availability to work in Reviewed. Roger is a director at a hospital with multiple projects coming down the pipeline, multiple IT applications that he has to support, teams that have to go build. COVID teams, for example, in some of our discovery recently, not enough time to take care of the day-to-day or get the project demand done. But Roger, if he works effectively and brings workers into the platform, he can have accessibility with onboarded resources with security access, ready to work and meet his project demands. Our solution not only makes it possible, but easy. We're using sophisticated graph-based technology and managed taxonomies to allow you to search a trusted and proven interim workforce, but to be able to build that accordingly. Worker profiles are built to identify the role, skills, certifications, and your availability. Simple searches for components and skills can then be refined for facets from our knowledge graph. Searchers can actually get notified when resources are available, and alerts can be saved and created. Searchers can also invite workers into the platform through Reviewed to say, I want you to be a part of our interim workforce. We can further value by making it easy to facilitate all the onboarding documentation, timekeeping, and invoicing monthly. We do have competitors. LinkedIn Recruiter, from a search perspective, is probably the biggest one we've seen, obviously. Pretty big network of people out there, and it's where agencies go to first to find talent, along with their own internal processes. There's a huge agency market down here in the corner here, hundreds and hundreds of those. There's some vendor management systems, Fiverr's, Upworks of the world that I'm sure everyone's heard of. They're simply just not focused on the healthcare IT market, which is our beachhead and a huge market in and of itself. Graphite is probably the closest one we've seen. They've gotten $4.5 million in funding as of recently, and they're more broad-based horizontally, where we're vertically in the specific to healthcare IT. So how we are different. Reviewed, as I said, is hyper-focused on our beachhead in healthcare IT, knowing we can expand to other markets. But the healthcare IT market in and of itself is a huge, huge opportunity for us. We're not a social media platform. Our platform profiles are much more precise with multiple availability settings allowed, and workers can request skills validation, and searchers can search based on that to find the right talent at the right time. Our traction, we've got our MVP up that we can actually start demoing and showing some product. We're in conversations with multiple hospitals, some local large facilities here around functional requirements. We've got workers waiting to get into the platform. We're going to test that workflow, and then about 15 agencies that are willing to look for use it up from a search perspective once we have those going. We've got followers on Reviewed, and so having been in this market for so many years, I think we can get the scale on both the supply and the demand side pretty quickly, but really that invitation via viral growth will make it pretty quick to expand. So we make money, SaaS-based model, but also on the per hour worked and when we create the invoices. We've got founders, sales and marketing experience, co-founder that has built and scaled engineering teams, advisors that have been there in this market and know how to build companies. We've got some milestone projections of people in the platform, along with the number of agencies using or hospitals and agencies using our platform through 2023, with our revenue plan into close to 8 million in recurring revenue. And that's it. Thank you.
All right, another Zoom virtual clap there for Eric. Good job. 5 minutes goes by very quickly.
You think
we know this?
And it's not.
All right, Garth, Dr. Shante, take it away.
Sure. I think it's my turn to go first. Eric, this is a great job. Even though Juan mentioned one of my my pet peeves with lots of other presentations, they don't use the time correctly. You hit all the three things that I want to see. you know, a little rushed at the end, but, you know, overall great. Very, you know, very polished. You know, you're obviously, you know, this is well practiced. I mean, this is a good presentation. You know, it's like, you know, you hit the market and not, you know, with enough detail for a 5-minute presentation. You know, because the most important thing when I'm looking at it is the market, then who's doing it, and then what the actual idea is. And so you hit all those. I feel like you personally have good experience, and the people that you've got associated with, like, you understand this market, you've lived the problem. The way you're going after it with, you know, number of hospitals, you know, to continue to get information. You integrated in how COVID is affecting your business and how you've innovated. I will say, full disclosure, that you and I have met before, and we've talked about your business. So I've seen some changes. So that is an advantage that you had over the other two. So I had to call you out, but this was really solid. One little nit on your slide where you're talking about the market, what the slide said was 1 billion and you said 7 billion. So I don't know which it is, or I think that someone would just, I'm sure it was just you weren't talking about the same thing or something, but it was just a nit. I think that's really all I've got. You know, sorry to not kind of put you through your paces, but I think this is pretty solid.
No, I appreciate it, Garth. Thank you very much.
I have not met you, and I agree with everything that Garth says. So first, this is squarely in my wheelhouse since it's healthcare. But I think it's a pretty timely business to be in, especially as COVID has kind of sucked all of the oxygen out of the room. And so other things are essentially, you know, languishing in a lot of areas. So I love really the focus you've got here, and knowing that you can scale up or down at any given time. On the IT side now, I will say, I was thinking on the clinical side of things, you know, especially as we're going to need a ton of people to deploy vaccines. You know, we clearly may have surges in the need for physicians. I mean, I see the applicability, but I appreciate your specificity, especially in the time of telemedicine when it's really taking off. And I've seen hospitals adopt platforms and need that extra technical support because they don't have it internally, but they're not going to need it forever. So I'm a fan. I definitely think, I think this is pretty interesting. I don't have I have questions more on how you're getting into hospitals, selling into them, but I would say in this particular arena, I don't want to take you through full-on due diligence because I would say my investor hand is showing in this particular regard. So I actually like what you've got a lot. I do think that you've called out appropriately your competitors. I just have maybe a logistics question. How long, and I may have missed this, how long are teams on and off? So if you're pulling on a team, you know, they come in for, is it 3 weeks? Is it 3 months? You know, what does that look like?
Our goal that it would be to make it however much you need. And a lot of these folks in the change, and I've read so much around the future of work in lots of industries, but in the way that millennials and younger generation want to go work. And then all of the consultants out there, my huge consultant network that is saying, hey, I'm open for more hours. I've got some availability. So when we go through a demo of the software, you can say I'm available for 10 hours on an Eastern time zone or Pacific time zone a week, or I'm looking for 20. And so you as a manager might reach out to that resource and say, I need you for the next 3 months for 40 hours a week. Okay, great. You know, confirm, good to go. But you might only say, I need you for 5 hours this week. I need some support work. My Radiant tickets are out of control. I need your help. And you come in and just kind of come in and out. And as we were doing a discovery call yesterday, and it's one of the things we talked about was after 3 months, if they haven't worked for 3 months, their security gets cut off. So it's just monitoring that and just knowing that we got to flip that back on. So our hope is that if it's an hour, it's an hour. And agencies don't want to deal with those ins and outs of bringing people on, because they're not full-time employees, they're just contract. And that's what we're trying to get over. And I'd look forward to talking to you with your background as well. Just some of the things around the freelancer market or in healthcare IT are unique that Upwork freelancers don't have those same challenges. So those are kind of our next step discovery calls with some health systems around what you would need to make this facilitation happen. So
awesome. One other question as it relates kind of to the IT side of things. I have invested in a few different telemedical platforms over the last 3 or 4 years or so. Getting physicians or clinics trained on technology, does that fall into the IT bucket as far as, basic troubleshooting? I mean, we all have had Zoom connectivity, but even having somebody that's literally on call because I need to, do this consult or whatever, is that a part of this model?
I believe it absolutely can be. One of the hospitals we're speaking to, a large health system tomorrow, she's in charge of all training for, the entire network. And so not only when they go live, but post-training, and we call them physician support teams. So my hope would be is they use this as to say, I don't have to pay this person 40 hours a week or guarantee them. It's just you can have a calendar of your availability, and then doctors, that's who they go out to, nurses, when they do have these challenges. So we're kind of on the cusp of being careful of not being everything to everybody and staying focused to get people on the platform. Because a lot of people give us ideas of what they want to see, and you just, and sales guy in me wants to deliver everything everybody wants, but not my CTO keeps me focused. So. Well,
that's good. I was going to say hospitals are very good at giving you something that's super customized for their particular needs that may not be applicable to another clinic or another system, or, so I applaud you. Stay focused. Hats off to that CTO, because trust me, your next several discovery calls are going to be, oh, we need this one thing, and you'll spend a ton of time customizing or over customizing for something that, may be completely throwaway later. So I appreciate that. Laura, I think you're upside down. But no, that's it from me. I look forward to staying connected and hearing more.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you,
awesome.
Laura.
Thanks, Eric. Stay on for just a second. We've got another question here. Unless Garth, you've got anything else you want to add?
No, let's go to the group.
Yeah, we've got a couple questions here in the chat. One of them here from Dan Komisar. Can this be a digital tool for traditional recruiting firms? It could be complementary to their lower tech model, i.e. a white label SaaS solution that may alleviate vendor management and hurdles with large hospitals.
Yeah, Dan, thanks. And absolutely, it's kind of interesting. I note the agency as a competitor, but at the same time, it's a market I know very well. So as I said, 15 of those organizations, I've got demo with one agency already, another one that says this is where we can build our worker pools, communicate with them effectively. And really, my goal is that when I reach that cusp of 10,000 consultants, IT consultants or more, this is the place those agencies go. And I have had people ask about white labeling. I've had construction companies ask to white label it because those people are not on LinkedIn. So there's other ways to white label the solution. But again, going back to staying singularly focused right now as we develop it. But yes.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of the companies that presented today. Like we said before, 5 minutes goes by very, very quickly. And so we appreciate everybody who pitched today. And thank you, Garth and Dr. Shante. Great feedback as always. A big Zoom virtual applause to you guys. Pitch Breakfast is what it is because of experts like you who are able to give that context, right? As investors, as entrepreneurs, as innovators. And that's where all the learning comes from. So a big thank you for everything that you guys are doing as well. All right, so we're stay on. We're gonna get to the networking portion here in just a second. One more announcement, Innovate Charlotte